So I was reading an article that talked about the difference in the wealth gap and how the wealth gap is constantly increasing and getting wider between those at the top and those at the bottom. And a lot of people wondering what can be done to decrease this wealth gap. I'm not sure if the wealth gap can actually be decreased because of the way compounding works. Now, we should focus on increasing or decreasing the income gap because you can increase the income of the lower wage people, and that won't necessarily increase or decrease the wealth gap because of the way compounding works. I know that as money compounds, it gets bigger and it grows wider. Let me give you an example. Let's say there are two different people, person A and person B. The first person has a stock portfolio of $100,000. The second person has a stock portfolio of $50,000. Now their wealth gap, that is their wealth, let's say that gap is $50,000. Now let's say they don't add any other money to it and they just let it compound for a 20-year period. Now, both people will compound at 15% a year. So let's look at what happens. After 20 years, the person with the $100,000 balance, because 15% compound annual growth rate means your money is going to double every 5 years. So if it doubles every 5 years, over a 20-year period, it's going to double 4 times. So the first person, by the end of year 20, their $100,000 has grown to $1.6 million. The second person who started out just $50,000 less, even though their wealth is compounding and is growing at the exact same rate, the doubling factor after 20 years, their $50,000 is going to grow to $800,000. So while the second person, both people have increased their net worth, the second person's gap between the first has gotten wider. You can see the difference of $1.6 million and $800,000 is now an $800,000 difference. So by percentages, it's still 50% more from the first person to the second person, but in terms of overall dollar amount, the wealth gap has gotten wider. Now that's how compounding works, because compounding is about doubling. So if the money doubles, the wealth gap is going to continue to grow. Now, let's say this person has a higher income to start with as well, and they're able to contribute more money per month to their investment account. So in terms of compounding, you have the money compounding at the same rate, but they're able to add more. So guess what? The wealth gap is going to get even larger by adding and contributing to the account that's already compounding and growing larger by dollar amounts. So I believe that people should focus on trying to run their own race. I've given up trying to catch anybody else in terms of wealth. If somebody started investing 30 years before I did, they should have more wealth than me. And if I started investing 10 years ago or 15 years ago or 20 years ago, and you started 2 years ago, then there's going to be a gap in the difference between wealth of me and my family and wealth of you and your family. So the objective should be how to focus on improving your own net worth and continuing to grow that. Run your own race. Focus on trying to improve your own net worth. Hopefully, they can figure out how to close this income gap. But I expect that over the years, the net worth or the net wealth between the larger households and the smaller ones is going to continue to grow, especially if the people in the lesser household or with the ones with the less wealth don't start owning stocks. You have to own businesses or little pieces of businesses called stocks. And I got that from studying Warren Buffett. In fact, I'm going to close with him answering this question as to how to improve your own net worth and grow your own wealth. And I'll talk to you soon.
But that's the only way to do it. I mean, you have to buy businesses or little pieces of businesses called stocks, and you have to buy them at attractive prices, and you have to buy them you have to buy into good businesses. And that advice will be the same 100 years from now in terms of investing. That's what it's all about. And you can't expect anybody else to do it for you. I mean, people will not tell you about wonderful little investments. It's not the way the investment business is set up. When I first visited GEICO in January of 1951, I went back to Columbia, and that rest of that year, I subsequently went down to Blythe and Company, and actually to one other firm that was a leading, Geyer and Company, that was a leading analyst in insurance. And I thought I'd discovered this wonderful thing, and I'd see what these great investment houses that specialized in insurance stocks said, and they said I didn't know what I was talking about. It wasn't of any interest to them. You've got to follow your own. You've got to learn what you know and what you don't know, and within the arena of what you know, you have to pursue it very vigorously and act on it when you find it. And you can't look around for people to agree with you. You can't look around for people to even know what you're talking about. You have to think for yourself.